Hello, folks. This is Ron Jeremy in USA.
Hi, this is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman.
And you're listening to Rafferty Mills Connection.
The Rafferty Mills Connection.
Let's rock.
The Rafferty Mills Connection.
Because it's exciting, innovative, and poignant.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming you to the Rafferty Mills Connection podcast. It's been a while, but I'm your host, Nick Mills. I'm joined by a very special guest. This man needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Featured in the documentary Anvil, the story of Anvil, which was very popular. Anvil are now touring with their 15th album, I think it is.
Yes, it is.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you Steve Lips Kudlow. Steve, thank you very much, by the way.
No problem, man.
Awesome guy.
All good.
So listen, how's Glasgow? When did you get into it?
We got in a few hours ago.
Okay. So Glasgow treating you well? I know the
Yeah,
weather's
as usual.
Yeah.
It's great here. I love it.
What do you like about Glasgow in particular?
Well, I think we've had a following here for many, many years, and they're very devoted and extremely vocal at our shows.
Do you find the audiences are somewhat different, or?
You know, it's every audience every night has its own personality, and it can change from night to night too. So you can't. It's not fair to say one place is better than another, because you can play the same place twice and it could be different both nights. Generally, we do very well. So it's like doing well. How well can you do?
Exactly. Is this your third time in Glasgow? Yeah, because
at least.
Yeah. And I think you played here at
in
the Cathouse.
in the new era.
Yeah. Oh right. Did you tour originally here when you were?
Yeah, back in '83. That was my first introduction. Was coming here in '83 with Motorhead.
Oh, no way! That must have been awesome.
It was. Aberdeen and Glasgow were the best shows on the whole tour.
Do you find Glasgow's changed a lot?
Not really. The people are still great and they're fucking magic.
You got the accent down, man.
Yeah,
I like it. What do you like about the Cathouse specifically? That's a good venue.
It's not too fancy, which I like. I don't like an over brand new looking place. I don't think it suits the genre that I'm part of. And I don't think it suits the audience because no one feels comfortable when it's too neat and tidy and brand new.
I always find with the Cathouse, it's kind of like a smaller rooms and stuff, so the sound kind of is just like so
and
direct.
it's more intimate. You're closer to the crowds. Yeah. I mean, I've been playing clubs my whole life, so I like it.
Yeah, because like the classic Grand down the road, it's like it's more of a massive room, and I think the problem with that is the sound it kind of just goes two ways, really. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's whereas for the Cathouse, it's smaller rooms and stuff, and you get that. It's like a rock club, isn't it? I mean,
that's the thing. It's a rock club, and it's very conducive to what we're doing. So I think that's part of it.
I guess who were some of your inspirations before getting into Anvil and obviously wanting to be a musician?
Oh, geez, I started playing guitar when I was 10 years old, and I pretty much made up my mind immediately. It was kind of a weird thing, and I mean, my parents weren't happy about it, but that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Once I discovered it, I remember previous to getting a guitar, I'd go down to my dad's tailor shop on the weekends and go to the music store and just look at all the guitars.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't play, but I knew I was intrigued by it. And of course, at that particular time in 1966, I was listening to Beatles and Rolling Stones. And
awesome, yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do with my life.
There's ever an introduction to rock and roll in it as you listen to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. That's
right.
a good inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. And at 10 years old, that's what it does. That's what it did to me.
Are European audiences different, do you reckon, to American audiences? Instead maybe they're louder or
not
culture?
Really. You know what? It's not really any different anywhere. Metal people are metal people.
Yeah.
That's what I would have to say. Some nights they're louder than others, but it doesn't mean they're enjoying it more or less, and it doesn't mean that one audience is better than the other.
Yeah.
Not really. I think it really comes down to the performance that the band is doing, and how good you feel as a musician doing it. I don't think the environment should make that much of a difference.
Our festival's a lot different. Do you have to change the set? I mean, because obviously you've got this new album coming out, so like tonight, for example, will you be focusing more on your greatest hits, the kind of old stuff, and then putting in your stuff from your new album, or you do?
Yeah, that's it. Well, generally we're condemned in the sense that we are expected to play stuff from our first 3 albums.
Yeah.
Period. There is no way around it, and you don't remove those songs from the set. So the only songs that are movable are all the newer ones.
Yeah. So, for example, if you were to go to, like, so if you had a festival gig coming up, you would tend to just sort of stick to the sort of
the standards and a bunch of the new songs.
Okay, but
like
then
3 or 4 of the new songs in with all the other stuff, which will take the place of some of the other older, newer songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like instead of doing Juggernaut of Justice and let's say Fucking A and New Orleans Voodoo, we're going to do Hope and Hell, Eat Your Words, and Badass Rock and Roll.
I don't know though, because I saw Motorhead do it at Download, and Motorhead just did stuff off all their new album, and I don't know how it went down. I'm a massive fan of Motorhead, so I didn't care either way. But I don't know. Do you tend musicians tend to be stuck to that they, I guess like Motorhead, for example. Do you find that?
Well, you have to. You got no choice. You can't go. Like, how could I possibly even think of going on stage and not playing metal on metal?
Yeah, true.
You can't do it. We did it once, and people on their way out of the club were demanding their money back.
What, really?
Really.
That's crazy.
And what happened was the club owner came backstage after we'd finished our last encore and said, "You go up and you play metal on metal right now." So we had to. Even the one night that we decided that we were going to take a break from it, we ended up having to do it anyway because the people demanded it.
I also think, I do find festivals a lot more fun to do than, say, your normal club night sort of thing.
No.
Not really? Why is that?
You don't get the preparation for the stage setup that you would get in a club. You don't get sound checked. The people are hundreds of yards away from you, so you don't get the intimacy. And generally, it doesn't sound as good outside.
Yeah, true.
So
you prefer to play indoors then?
I actually prefer playing indoors. It doesn't mean that it'll be better or worse, because the songs all remain the same. Everything's the same, but it's just the sort of ambience of the situation is what changes.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk to you about, obviously is it your 15th album now?
15th,
Hope?
yeah.
That's amazing. Hope and Hell. It came out May 2013. How do you think the reaction's been to it so far?
I think it's been pretty good. It's kind of weird because we didn't do anything that would be vastly different from anything we've ever done.
Yeah.
And in fact, when we went to go write, we were just looking for continuation rather than to look for things that we've never done. Because quite frankly, after writing 150 songs, there's not much left that you haven't done.
True.
So it's not a question of repeating. It's more about doing it again, but with a different flavor.
It's incredible that you've done 15 albums. I guess what keeps you going? What makes you want to keep going and going? It's incredible that 15 albums later. And
well, what else can I do?
Yeah, true.
It's what do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do if you don't? I'm way past the point of no return. I'm not going to go back.
You can't go back.
I'm not going to go back to school.
Yeah.
No, man, it's what I've been doing my whole life. It's what I do. It's who I am and what I do. That's it.
I wanted to ask you about obviously the documentary Anvil, which was just so successful. Were you surprised by how popular it became?
No,
really?
not in the least. And I was the only one that felt that way.
Really?
And in fact, on the onset of the whole thing, I knew exactly what was going to happen.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people thought I was out of my mind, but then as it all unfolded and did end up the way I figured it would. I mean, I didn't go around, I told you so, I just went, yeah.
You just had a feeling kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was much more than a feeling. It was a really serious premonition.
Were you surprised that there were so many contributors, you know, like Lemmy from Motorhead, obviously Lars Ulrich? Were you surprised that they managed to get so many people to talk about how influential you
Well,
guys were?
actually, all these guys have been friends with Anvil for years and years, and have always felt a great deal of respect and admiration for us. It's just it never got publicly announced. All that happened was the director, he asked me who are some of the people that you think I can talk to, and I said, well, you can talk to the guys in Slayer. I know that they were fans of Anvil. I know that you can talk to the guys in Anthrax. I know that they've been fans, and certainly the guys in Metallica. I mean, I don't know about, when he came to me and said, I got an interview with Slash. I went, Slash? Really?
Yeah.
And apparently Slash has been an Anvil fan.
That's
so
awesome.
I mean, I didn't know that.
Oh, that's great.
That was probably the biggest surprise. I mean, Lemmy, I've known since I met him the first time in '81. So I mean, we've got a long
Is it
a
true
long
that
history
apparently
of
he
friendship.
knocks back Jack Daniels pretty much before he goes on stage? It's like a full bottle of Jack Daniels or something like that.
I think a lot of stuff about Lemmy is slightly overemphasized.
Yeah, true. Rock and roll.
And it's funny. He was talking about he's never really been drunk, and I think that he's actually telling the truth. I think that when you use alcohol and you get used to it, you don't really get drunk. You just kind of get back to normal, and it's when you're not drunk or not been drinking that you feel like shit. So
True.
I'm not, and I'm not judgmental. I mean, that's how he enjoyed to live, and that's fine for him.
I was gonna
for
say-
me, not my thing, but that's okay.
I was going to say, have you tried? We've got tenants here in Glasgow. Have you tried some of that?
No, I'm not really a drinker.
Oh, you're not really drinking?
I really very seldom drink. I mean, going back to the 1983 tour, with Motorhead, I ended up in a hotel room with Lemmy and spent the whole night drinking and doing amphetamines because that's his thing.
Yeah.
And it was quite the experience, a lifelong memory. I'm never going to forget it. But it's not really my thing. It's I don't. It's not what I. Not
Okay.
What,
Do you feel pressure? I mean, obviously with the heavy metal and music business in general, there are always pitfalls, aren't there? That you can end up drinking, and end up having drug abuse. Are there pressures? Do you reckon? You're gigging and stuff. You're on the road a lot of the time. Do you think so? Or?
No, I think that comes from not being fulfilled.
Yeah.
Frustration, because this business is extraordinary for those factors, and it really depends on your upbringing and your personality, whether you're going to fall in the cracks. I've never really had those issues. I've been quite satisfied and content all along, and I've felt successful all along, right?
Okay.
So I never really
Don't feel the
looked
need
for
to drink,
for an escape. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, that's good.
I guess I think that might be why, but I couldn't say for sure. I don't know because it's not my headspace. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't answer for somebody else. For me, I've never felt depressed enough or the need to drown my sorrows in any real shape or form.
Yeah. I was going to say, how do you think life has changed for you since the documentary came out and obviously became so popular?
Well, I think mainly I don't have to go to do the deliveries anymore.
Oh, really?
Anvil has become quite sufficiently independent and able to carry its own weight and pay enough wages so that I don't have to go to the job anymore like I did. I'm certainly not becoming a millionaire by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly allowed me to begin making a living from being in the band.
Oh, so you don't have to work anymore.
Which is a massive difference, and from my own personal perspective, I've made it. If I could do that, that's making it. I mean, really making it is when you make millions of dollars, but hey, I'm still working on my first.
Sure. In the documentary, you guys were, I guess, because like the record labels kind of treated you like Do you think record labels, since the documentary's come out, do you think yours, or, subsequently maybe a later one, I don't know if you've changed, do you think they've treated you better, or do you reckon it's always stayed the same, they always treat musicians badly?
Well, actually, we recently signed to a new deal with SPV. It's not really a lot different than what it's always been. I think the records are selling a little better, and we're with a bigger label, and they're able to service the marketplace a little better. I mean, it's 15 albums in, we're still doing it. I think the biggest difference at this point, it's not so much with the labels as it is with being able to work and make a living at this from doing gigs. So it's not really so much about the label as it is about the business itself in making money touring. Because realistically, there is no money to be made from record deals because no one buys records anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole bottom of that part of the business has dropped out. But luckily, because it is heavy metal, a lot of metal people prefer to have the hard copy and the physical copy of the CD, and thank goodness for that. Otherwise, there'd be no record companies or record deals at all.
I find it's a yin and yang situation because obviously you guys are very popular through like BitTorrents and then YouTube as well, streaming your stuff. But at the same time, you don't get any money from it. But it's almost that kind of yin and yang argument to say you guys get really popular, people finding your music, obviously seeing the documentary maybe.
But the biggest difference is, well, let's put it this way: it's really an interesting day and age in the sense that, they put your record out and then they try to tabulate what you're doing in the first couple of weeks or whatever, but they only tell you what it's doing in the stores. They're not telling you what's going on in BitTorrent, YouTube, and everywhere else, that the thing is just leaking out, oozing out all the edges everywhere. In the first week I went on to BitTorrent and discovered that there'd been 15,000 downloads of Hope and Hell. I mean, that's.
I think your whole discography's on there as well, which is a bit cheeky.
Yeah, and I've seen, like, as far as the actual entire catalog is downloadable,
which is really harsh, actually.
The entire catalog is downloadable, and you see, 25 to 50,000 downloads.
Yeah.
For all of the albums.
It's It's great, but where's the money?
That's what I'm saying. But that means people know the music. Yeah. That means people are coming to the gigs. That means I'm going to get gigs. So at the end of the day, what all this means is it's like having a huge advertisement campaign that's out there, and it runs by itself, and no one really finances it other than the band itself by creating the music to get it out there.
You've been in the music business for quite a long time. When Napster came along, did you kind of sense the fact that Napster would change the way that there's obviously a legal download in now? I mean, Napster really started it all. Do you think that kind of started it, do you reckon?
No, I think that what really happened was they didn't realize that the barn door was open. And all the horses ran out, and then when Lars raised the red flag and said, hey, they're stealing all the music, everybody came down on him because, of course, most people don't want to pay for anything.
What did you reckon of that? Because obviously, I guess there was an argument to say, you're a millionaire, you're in a band, but at the same time, they are stealing your music. You're a musician. How do you feel about, Lars is your friend as well, I guess. How did you feel about that stand?
Well, it's interesting because he was absolutely 100% correct. And all he did was raise he brought the issue to the forefront. And for doing that, he got condemned for it. But nonetheless, it was the truth. That was the beginning of the end of the music industry as we knew it. And just because Napster closed, everywhere else is still going, so what's the difference?
Yeah, as you say, the barn and everything, once the horses are bolted, that's it. And
yeah, that's
even
it.
If Napster gets shut down.
And it's like I said to my manager, going, well, can't they figure out how to fix this? And he goes, if you can figure out how to fix this, you'll be a billionaire. He says, if you can come up with something, please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to close the barn doors now.
Do you feel so? I'm just going on to social networking like Facebook and Twitter. Do you feel that's helped you a lot in terms of new audience? You know,
I think it has, but I also feel that you got to that I think that there's a level that you have to be careful that you don't go too far with it, because I think when you stick your face in everybody's face and keep bugging them, eventually you're going to get slapped. I mean, that's how I look at it. So I think if you get on those places and just keep pumping at it, I think people get sick of you, and you can turn a lot of people off. So I think that there's a threshold to that. I think it's a great place to get your name out there, but I think you also at the same time got to be aware that you can overdo it and make people really pissed off, and they'll remember you for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Do you find that people are now discovering you through the documentary, or do you find that people are discovering it through, like, word of mouth? And
No, I think I really believe the documentary, it was like a skyrocket. You know, it really exploded the name out there. But you got to keep in mind that 98% or a good 90% of the people that watch that movie aren't even into metal.
yeah,
And they're not going to all of a sudden become into metal because they watched the Anvil movie,
Yeah.
and they're not all of a sudden going to go buy all the Anvil albums.
it's true.
So, although we have the popularity and the word of mouth and knowledge of the band, it doesn't necessarily translate into sales or
Yeah,
into
okay.
money.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I mean that's the best way I can describe it. But what it has done, it has solidified an audience for us and made it a lot more feasible to go out and affordable to play
Yeah.
and tour.
Do you find that people recognize you a lot more, maybe because of the
Oh
documentary?
shit, that's insane.
What?
That's insane. That's out of control. And it's never who you would, and that's why I'm saying it's, when I talk about a good 90% of the people that seen the movie are not into metal. I'm walking down the street in Chicago, and a guy, like a big burly black guy who's driving a garbage truck, pulls his truck over on the side of the street, comes running over to me to get an autograph.
That's amazing. That is.
And you're going, that guy is not a metalhead.
Yeah.
Like what? And then 5 minutes after he drives away, some guy in a limousine pulls up, and he jumps out from the back seat, and he's wearing a suit and tie, and he's asking me for my autograph. I'm going, I don't get it. How much more opposite can you get than that? There's absolutely nothing in common between these two people, but yet they both know the Anvil and the movie, and they recognize me.
That's brilliant. Obviously, we got your 15th album now, Hope in Hell. How did the concept of the album come around?
Well, initially, I had written, of course, the title track, the music for it, and we've always used alliterations for all of our titles. And in this particular, going in on when we began writing, I was thinking, calling the album Piece by Piece. But when I attempted singing Piece by Piece, it just sounded, that sounds bad. Okay, well, and then I just stand there going, there isn't a hope in hell that that's going to work. And I went, wait a minute, that's it.
Yeah.
So, and then I started thinking, well, okay, well, how does that work? And I thought, well, the whole concept of Anvil is actually hope in hell, isn't it? I mean, the whole sort of backstory and everything. We didn't have a hope in hell, but yet somehow we've come out the other side.
Yeah.
So there is hope in hell.
Yeah. Survived, man. In
And,
a business.
and the idea of finding love and losing hate.
Yeah.
And what I meant by that is not physical love.
No.
What I'm actually talking about is finding the things that you love in life and lose the things that you don't like.
Yeah.
That's really what the core is about. And that's what lyrically it's saying. Then we had to tie it into an album cover. So when we first thought of the title, of course, my first thought was maybe we should just talk to the artist and see what he might have to say. So when we talked to the artist, he came back with, let's put an anvil in the desert at an oasis. And I went, no, I know what it is. It's Noah's Ark in hell, right? And then I thought, well, it can't work with water. And I thought, well, hell. What's hell? Hell is fire and brimstone, right? Mm. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. How about an apocalyptic sort of scene? And we'll make the ark floating in lava.
Which is a great image, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I go, we had transformed the anvil into an airplane or a jet in speed of sound. For plenty of power, we made into a bulldozer. And I'm going, well, it's got to be something really identifiable. At first we were thinking of a battleship and then maybe an oil tanker. And then I went, no, man, it's got to be something really... So the second you look at it, that's a ship. It's got to be an aircraft carrier.
I think you've already said that you've got ideas for your next album. How far along is the concept for the next album?
Oh, I haven't even begun thinking about what the next album is going to be called. Not really.
You got any ideas for songs or anything like that?
Well, we've got 4 or 5 songs already kind of going. So, I mean,
Okay.
We always try to get ahead of the game rather than.
But just take it one album at a time. Obviously, finish up the tour.
Yeah. But we're already started into the 16th. But really, there's no sense talking about it. Really, I mean,
Okay. I was going to say, obviously, with this new album now, do you think your style of music, not your style of music, but obviously maybe the way you approach an album, do you find that's changed from maybe when you first started?
It's gone through phases, really. Yet it's not really any different any time. It never really is any different. In a certain sense, it's as if I've written one album that's 150 songs long. It's more like that. Because as soon as you're finished one, you start into the next one. It's like it never really stopped. Yeah. It's just the same way as you don't stop eating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You continue on and you continue, and it's really as straightforward as that.
Well, listen, Steve, thank you very much for this interview. I just want to give you an opportunity. If there's anything you want to say to your very loyal fans out there, go ahead. Now's the time to say it.
I think you people are fucking great and magic, and I love it in here in Scotland. And I just got to tell you, my mother-in-law was born in Aberdeen in quite a long time ago. And she's a great lady. I like her a lot. And just so you know, her last name was Wallace.
Wallace, that's a good one. Hey, listen, have you tried a deep-fried Mars bar? There is this...
Yeah, they got them in Canada.
Do you know, I've not... How are they? Because I've never tried one. I've lived in Glasgow for 5 years and I've never tried one. It's an urban legend here. There are places...
It's extraordinarily sweet.
I love the concept of deep-frying a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
It is like a heart attack.